I have to almost treat it like that, like it's an art school project, because and not take it too seriously, because then I feel like I might get burnt out by it, and I have to like keep it fun. We had no job, we had no family, we had no connections, we had no community, and we still moved out here. I don't know if we're gonna like any of this, so it's like the 1.5 acres seemed more doable. I don't think we would have been as successful if we would have started big.
I think it's always fun being out here. I mean, with the animals, in nature. I mean, we make it fun because this is our life and we love this. So we are at an amazing place. I'm sure everybody knows who you guys are in this homestead, farmstead world, but we are at Sow the Land with Jason and Lorraine. We are gonna check out your guys' farm and just kind of dive into why you're doing this, how you got into it for maybe those that don't know, and just kind of go from there. But I think you said that, was it this morning, yesterday, you had babies born?
Yes, we just had a baby coonies. We raised cooney pigs here, and we just had some born a week ago.
A week ago, okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
so
but they're
timing.
coonies, so they'll still be really small.
Yes,
right, yeah.
Coonies are really small. They're just like giant, little burritos or something.
Yeah. So are they here? Yeah. Or are they up?
They're right here.
Okay. Well, hi, Mama.
This is Elvira.
How
She's
are
the mama.
you?
This fence is on, but
Okay.
yeah. So we've had her 3 years, going on 3 years. So she's about 3 years old. We had her first litter last year. Her very first litter last year. She had 8. And
Wow.
This time she had 6.
Okay. Those are good numbers for coonies.
Yeah, I mean, it took about a year for her to breed. Our boar is over there, but
So it took her that long to get bred?
yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it just because of age or what?
I think just coonies in general, they have a hard time, or they could have a hard time breeding.
Yeah.
It's just,
okay.
I think it's just the nature of them.
That makes sense. Oh my goodness, you guys are so cute. And it's cold out, I know.
Yeah, we have a heat lamp in there just in case. It's supposed to get down to 30s that next couple of days. So
Yeah.
we've had it on like once, the heat lamp, but it's not too bad. I mean, they're pigs. They're pretty warm.
Right. So what do you do with the piglets then? Because you don't feed them all out, right? Do you sell them, or
Yeah,
do you like sell the meat?
Yeah, so we sell we sold like piglets last year, and that's what we intend on doing with these. So the 6,
Okay.
we'll probably keep 2 for meat for
Okay.
ourselves, and then sell the rest. Last year we kept 4 of the pigs, and they're up there, and then we sold 4 of them. So.
Very cool. Because you guys, this is your second homestead, right?
Yeah.
Because you moved here, when did you move here?
So we moved out of California in 2016, and we bought 1.5 acres. That's where we started from, and we were there for about 6 years. And then 2 years ago, we moved to this 14 acres now. We just felt like we outgrew that place. It was just nothing. I mean, it was a different time in 2016. So I remember coming out here, out this way, and seeing like 12 properties on a weekend of abandoned properties. Like, these are properties that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
And even this place, that 1.5 acres was there for a year with nobody living on it. It was on a mobile home, and it was run down, and it was like, man, I think this is where we want to be. And so that's where we started. And, we didn't know any of this stuff when we moved, so we didn't even know if we would like doing gardening or raising animals. So that was kind of like our starter, and like just to get us familiar. We kind of treated it as like a test, almost like a school for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna come out here, figure it out, see if we could do this on 1.5 acres, and if we can, well, maybe we'll move up to a bigger property.
Okay.
If not, maybe we'll stay. But after about 6 years, we felt like we really wanted to grow and start raising larger animals like steers or cows or pigs, and so that's what we did when we moved out here.
Interesting. So when you guys moved to the 1.5 acres, you knew it was going to be a test, and maybe one day you'd move off of it and go somewhere else.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you moved all the way from California. So you moved out, I know that you wanted to get into like homesteading because of your health. But why here? Like, why North Carolina from California?
No, I know. We looked at other places, and we kind of took a year to we didn't really travel but we wanted to stay in California.
Okay.
But it was just so expensive, and you know,
Okay.
'cause our family's out there, they're still out there, most of them, and then so I don't know. I think we really felt a good sense of community out here. Even we really didn't know anybody out here, and we didn't have family out here, but we just felt, I don't know, we felt that of a lot of like-minded people that are kind of doing what we wanted to do. A lot of small farms, you know, it's like the Asheville area. So it's just a lot of people doing that over there.
Yeah.
And we just fell in love with it, like the green, the seasons. It's not too hot, too
Right.
humid, and it's not too cold.
You're like
It's
far
almost-
enough into the mountains
Yeah.
that it's like pretty solid weather.
Yeah.
Right, it's not like there's no way we could have moved to like Minnesota. Like from California, Southern California to there, like that would have been too extreme. So
Yeah.
here's kind of the perfect,
4 seasons.
perfect world right
Yeah.
there.
That's awesome. So, and we can talk about this here in a second, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious, when you're moving from like the 1.5 acres to 14 acres, I mean, you went through the schooling, like you said, like you kind of schooled yourselves, you were learning on that 1.5 acres. But like when you came to 14 acres, like what did you anticipate the difference being, or like maybe hardships that you're going to run into? And what didn't you anticipate?
Well, I think putting animals and gardens in spots, because you know, if you're just on 1 acre, there's pretty much only like one spot you could put a garden
Right.
or run your animals, and it makes you it really forces you to be an efficient farmer, I think, with a smaller acreage. But here it's so open, it's very overwhelming,
Okay.
you know, because it's like, where do I even run our chickens? Where do I put the high tunnel? Where do I put our raised garden beds? And in that aspect, it was overwhelming. But just to like be here after a year, and just, I think for us, just putting it in a place and just seeing how it goes.
Yeah, and then watching the land too, and what areas flood. Obviously,
Right.
we can't put a garden where we have like, you know, heavy floods. We can put, you know, baby piglets there, or, you know, maybe stuff that doesn't grow. You know, So an area where there's just too many trees or whatnot. We just had to watch where the land, you know, where the sun rises and sunsets, and where, you know, natural heavy rain flows down. And
Yeah.
And like, we made raised garden beds, wood garden beds. We had them in one spot the first year, because you know, you move to a new property, you want to grow food, you want to do all the stuff, and so
Right.
you don't want to wait. And so we just made some raised garden beds, put them in a spot, and like, we were still unsure if that was the spot. And we had it there for a year, and then after a year, we're like, you know what? That's not the spot.
Okay.
Let's move it over here. But you know, that's why we build them in the raised beds first, so that way we can move it,
Right.
and we move the soil to where we actually have it now, and that's where it is. But
What made you decide that that wasn't the area?
that's funny, because when we first moved here, I was like, that is the spot. I'm 100% sure that's where I want our raised beds. That's where I want
The
the
first
garden.
place that they were
The
at.
first place. And he was like, I don't think that's a good spot. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm 100% sure that's exactly where I want it. And then a year later, we were like, yeah, that's not going to work. I don't remember what it was.
I think it was too far from the house. That was one reason.
Yeah, and and then it was just too much of a hill. Like
Oh, okay.
from one area where you stand, you can look at it and say, this looks great. It doesn't look like a steep slope. But then if you go and stand on the opposite end, you're like, wow, we're gonna have a lot of soil erosion. It was just better suited for something else. Like we ended up putting our orchard there, which works better.
That's interesting
Yeah.
that like your perspective should be like 360 when you're looking at where to place things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's where we're at here with the greenhouse. It took you 2 years to put this up. Can we like check it out?
Yeah.
And we did just see that you got all of this soil in too.
Yeah, we just put this up, and we just put the soil in. We haven't even started planting yet. I still have to make end walls, so it's just kind of brand new. But
Why did you decide that the greenhouse should go here? Like what about your land and topography decided that it should be here?
well, it's the flattest part of the land right
Okay.
here. This used to be a horse property. So right
Okay.
here where we're at used to be a horse arena.
So it's been trampled down.
Yes, specifically right here, it doesn't really grow much. It's very hard and compacted soil
Yeah.
right here, and it's the most flat. So that's why we had to bring in this soil,
Yeah.
because there's no way we were going to plant in the soil that's there already. That's really the only reason. I mean, it's fairly close to the house too. You know, it's not way out there,
Right.
but it's flat. It doesn't really grow here anyways, so let's just try to rebuild that soil here where it's at.
That's a good point, because if nothing's growing here, then it's not really taking over something.
Yeah, it's not like
that-
I was running my cows through here or running pigs through here
Right.
because there's nothing here to eat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, it's already dead.
yeah, that's really cool.
And it's flat. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many areas on our property where it's like we wouldn't be able to fit this large of a high tunnel anywhere because it's so slopey. And what are they called? Swells?
Oh
Swells?
yeah, the swells.
Yeah, we have a lot of those on our property too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you going to put in here? Do you
I
know?
Well, I'm not off the top of my head. I have a chart that's
Okay.
inside the house. We're gonna do cabbages and broccoli, and which I started here, and they're supposed to be transferred in here. However, we do have some roaming chickens, and we need end walls, and we need water.
Ah.
Yeah, we don't have water out here, so.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna grow tomatoes and peppers and lots of other things too if the season passes for broccoli and cabbage, but we'll see. We're just kind of taking it one day at a time.
So you came from California. You didn't have like an agriculture background. You do a lot of projects on your own
Yes.
here, like all of your construction projects. Where did you get that information? Has it just been trial and error? Did you have a background in that at all?
Well, I mean, my previous, when we left, I was working in an office and I was a computer drafter. So I went to school for like industrial design, so kind of engineering.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe helps me.
You kind of have
know,
that engineering brain already.
Yeah, even though I never built anything with my hands prior to doing all this, but I've always drew it on paper.
Okay.
So maybe visually, like I could see it and I could draw it, you know, so now I'm kind of like actually making stuff. And that's what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted out of my office to work with my hands and just be outside. And, you know, I got tired of sitting down in the cubicle all day. And, you know, we wanted to work for ourselves too and try to figure out what that looked like. You know, it wasn't just growing our own food. It wasn't just having land. It was also trying to figure out how to work for ourselves as a family together.
Yeah. So that actually brings up an interesting question. How did you work for yourself while you were here? I mean, obviously now we know you're a content creator. That comes with income, and you have courses and things like that.
Workshops.
Workshops. That's what I was saying. I was like, labs was the only word
Yeah.
coming to mind. I'm like, okay, it's not. This isn't a university. It's not a lab, but I guess it works. Workshops.
Yeah.
How did you like get the financial side of it on your first property when you first started?
Before we made the move, it took a good 6 years to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. 6 years of paring down what we had. This was in California. As far
Okay.
as like, we're trying to live more minimally, you know, we go from 2 cars to 1 car, try to get rid of some debts
We
as
went
possible.
from 2 careers to 1 career.
2 careers.
And then eventually, like,
Yeah.
no career.
Yeah, I mean, she
Yeah.
was in the fashion industry. You know, paring down, and we had a big house, and trying to get rid of stuff, and so it took that 6 years to do that, and then eventually we sold most of the stuff in our house, and we ended up selling our house, and with that, we were able to buy the 1.5 acres
Okay.
when we moved out here. But then it was like, she had already created her career to be a stay-at-home mom, and before we left, I wanted out of my office job, and I didn't know how to do that. And the only way I knew how to do that was just quit, and just quit.
And
That's
just figure it out.
We're just gonna move, and we have a little bit of savings, you know, a little bit of cushion there
Uh-huh.
to help us. But we still didn't have enough money to actually pay the 1.5 acres outright. Like, we had to take out a mortgage.
Okay.
So we had the mortgage, we had our 4-year-old, we had no job, we had no family, we had no connections, we had no community, and we still moved out here.
Wow.
And we were just gonna figure it out. That
But
was
we
the
had
plan.
hope.
But we had hope, and that was it. And that was a huge. to have hope.
And there was something driving you, like maybe something that's like just under the surface, unable to be like given a word, that you were like, no, this is the right thing to do. This is what we're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
do.
we believed wholeheartedly in what we were doing. We believed in this food, this lifestyle, and this healthy food of us raising this food is going to heal us. We believed in that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That this was the right path for us, and we did a lot of things to make it work. We did everything we could. I mean, there's a lot of things that Jason does. He works very hard, and I kind of want to say you work harder than what you did in the office.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you love it more.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The office was easy.
Yeah.
If I wanted easy, I would have just stayed.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But all this is not easy.
yeah, but you love this more because we believe in it. we believe that this works and this is healthy for us.
Yeah.
So I have this conversation, it seems like a lot, with almost every farmer, and probably just because it's on my heart, given where Paul and I came from. We had our farm, we got burnt out, we sold it, and I think of this instant gratification, and I don't know, maybe it's our age, like the millennial side of things, but the fact that you took 6 years to pare down first, and then we're 6 years on an acre and a half, and now it's like you're kind of on your dream property. Is that, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but is that right?
That's not our forever.
Okay.
We don't know. We're not saying.
I don't know.
But
That's hard to say. It's hard to say. We definitely like it better than 1.5 acres.
Okay.
Like we
Okay.
really like it here. for sure.
It's still interesting though that you're going through this work. You're not trying to do it all right now. You're not like, no, I want 100 acres. I want to own a whole mountain, and I'm going to do
Yeah.
all the things on that mountain, and it's going to be all
we
mine.
do want that.
I think that's what we initially wanted.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
you know, when you actually,
Like reality checked in.
Right.
well, the reality was like I didn't have a job and I didn't know what we were gonna do. I didn't know if we were
Yeah.
gonna like any of this. So it's like the 1.5 acres seemed more doable. I think, yeah, I get asked this too often. Is like, don't you wish you would have started on this 14 rather than get the 1.5 acres? Like, why even bother with the 1.5 acres if this is what you wanted to do? And I was like, I don't think we would have been as successful if we would have started big,
Yeah.
because I think we would have been too overwhelmed. We would have maybe got burnt out. We didn't know anything, you know, never had chickens and nothing. And so I think we would have just been too overwhelmed, and maybe we would have been like, okay, 14 acres is too much. Let's pare down to 1.
Yeah.
You know, we went backwards
Yeah.
rather than doing the opposite. So I'm happy the way it turned out, and I want to do it any different.
How do you put that in your mindset where you're like, no, we need to go slow? Or like, do you have, you said that you wanted to buy the whole mountain, you wanted to do it all right away, but you pulled yourself back. So how do you like pull your foot off that gas pedal a little bit? Is it just like something in your head?
I think
or?
it was financial.
It's hard. Well, it's my wife. I'm the one that's
He's
like, let's
let's
go.
come
Let's
home
do
with
this.
all the animals, and I'm like, wait, we have to read the books first.
Yeah, well, it's
we
like,
have to
wait,
finish
wait.
the fencing
Well, it's
first.
going to cost this much on feed and this and
Yeah.
that. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. All right, let's just wait. But yeah,
I
it's
do-
hard. It's hard.
I do think that there is something to be said about starting out slow. Like when we were living in California and we took the 6 years to pare down and everything, it was hard. It was painful to kind of get rid of things that we thought were ours. And when we did that, we kind of felt like, oh, we have nothing. We moved here with nothing. Like we had no family. We had this little mobile home, which I was like, this is ugly. I have a different appreciation for it now, but and we had this, 1.5 acre farm that had nothing, like not even a barn or a garage, or our tools were out there in the rain getting wet. And this little tiny mobile home, where all of our belongings we had sold and got rid of. And so we had nothing. So we didn't have anything but our dreams to kind of like, we could do this one day, but we have to do the hard first. And it was hard. We wanted all these things, but we couldn't. I think like just taking all of the steps 1 foot at a time, it's just like every day you look forward to every day because you're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned in the greenhouse how you guys don't have any water. So you have a water collection system here. And I know you've got a big one up there, and we can get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But this one I think is so cool. So do you want to, I know you've done videos about it, but do you just want to like brief overview?
Yeah. So this is a portable one. It has skids, so I can
yeah.
pull it around. So yeah, I mean that was one thing. You move to a bigger property, you're like, wait a minute. If I want to run animals way out here, do I really want to run hoses too?
Or dig water lines?
Or dig a well,
Yeah.
or all that. And
Yeah.
and that can get expensive. And that's the very first year we were here, I did run like 500 feet of hoses, because you just want to start doing stuff. And so like, well, that's one way to do it,
Right.
is run hoses. But after that gets old after a while, so I figured, let's try to save rain. We saved some rain at our last property, and we're from Southern California, so we're kind of used to saving rain out there.
That's a good point.
And that's always kind of in my brain.
Yeah.
When you come out here, you're not really saving. It rains a lot.
Water's abundant
You know,
around
like
here.
it's abundant. I mean, it's green. Like we got a creek running through our property. Like, you know, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But it's not that I'm saving rain because of a drought necessarily. It's more so to water our animals, so I don't have to run a hose
Right.
or drill a well, because pretty much these are always full.
Yeah, and Lorraine, you just grabbed some water and gave it to the chickens. Can I look at that real quick? Because when I think of saving water, I think of algae growth,
Yeah.
and it's gonna get green.
Oh no,
and-
this was clear. I mean,
Yeah.
this bucket is stained, but
So is that
Yeah,
just
clear.
because it's in the food grade barrels?
Well, it's because they're dark. You know, they're blue, but there's no light going into it.
And they're connected. That's why there's two.
Yeah, I mean it's a small like roof area, but
Tiny,
you
right.
get, you know, you get one day of rain. These are not going to fill up. But overall, you know,
Yeah.
if you get a couple days, a good pour down, and you know, it goes into this one, and then this is the overflow that goes into this one.
Yeah.
And our
And, we just turn it
our
on
goal
here.
is to always use this and you know,
Yeah.
use that water and not just have it be sitting there. I mean, the one
Right.
up there sits up there because we just put it in, but we always want to make sure we're if we know we're going to have like 5 days of rain next week, we'll try and empty this out and use
Okay.
it for.
Yeah, that
but
makes
we
sense.
have animals here in the middle of this property where we don't have water. So when we're watering our animals, we're rinsing things off, we're cleaning buckets.
So even when you're conserving water, which, like you said, coming from California, where you're like always conserving water, but so I tend to be an extremist, and it's either all or nothing. And so I see this, and I'm like, oh man, you have to conserve like all the water and never use it, and it's just like
Oh, right.
you got to be super careful. But you're like, no, it's plentiful here.
Yeah.
We're okay. Use it to wash your boots off. It's not a big deal. Do you have those same thoughts?
I do.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like last year, I think there was like maybe 2 months of no rain,
There was a little drought
and
for
we were
this
getting
area.
pretty low on the rainwater that we were saving. Oh well, I didn't have this one, but we have a 275 gallon IBC tote off of the little barn,
Yeah, that's right.
and we've used that 275 gallons to feed, you know, pigs, chickens, pretty much the entire year last year, and that's all we had as far as saving rain. And there was like 1 month where it got pretty low and it was almost gone. But then at that point,
We can use
you
our
could
well.
use the well, you can use
Right.
the hose. So
So you have the backup at the house. It's not like your animals are gonna die.
right, and I think that's always in my mind too. Like, you got to have, say, what's your main source, which is our rainwater, and then what's the backup? You got to have a backup to the backup.
Right.
You know, you can't just have one source, because what if that goes out? Or like,
Yeah.
we're on all electricity here.
Right.
So what if electricity goes out for
Then
a
our
number
well
of times?
doesn't work.
Then our well doesn't work. So how are we going to get water to our animals?
Yeah.
Well, we have the rain collection system. That's one way.
And this seems like a really simple, I know you have build plans, but
Yeah.
this seems really simple and easy. And you said it's on skids. So there's a lot of like homesteaders even, but definitely farmsteaders that could really benefit.
Oh yeah,
From
even
something like
if
this.
it's not on skids, like, you could just make a little water tower like this, and you could hook up your chicken water to this, and say if you have your chickens in a stationary spot, they'll always have constant water going to them, and
Right.
you don't have to fill up buckets. You know.
Yeah. What a great idea. So you have your chickens out here
Yep.
and you use the Premier One netting.
Yeah.
What do you do with your chickens? Because you're homestead based, right? So like, do you sell the eggs?
No, sometimes we have a lot of eggs for ourselves,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes we don't. This flock right here is our older flock.
Okay.
So not all of them are laying.
Not all of
Gotcha.
them are laying. I guess they're mostly pets.
Our daughter is the one who mostly cares for them. She feeds them
Okay.
and she waters them and collects their eggs. So when he's like, oh, well, they're not laying anymore, they're really old, it's time to like cull some chickens. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, no, not Hannah. We love Hannah. And
Did she
not
grow up
so-and-so."
with these ones?
Oh, yeah.
For the most part? I mean,
For
like,
the most part, they're like, some of these are 4 years old. Some are like
Three.
2 years old.
Yeah.
We just have a new batch that we got that are in our brooder right now. So those will kind of be the next generation of egg layers. So basically, we're just using them. They do lay, but also just to fertilize the land, and we just continue moving everybody around.
and then your pigs are up here, the feeders,
Yep.
right? They're feeder pigs.
No, they're coonie
Well, they're coonie
coonies.
pigs, but,
Well,
but they're gonna feed us.
I say feeders, yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're
I
not
think
the
of like
fast-growing.
market ones, right? Like you're gonna eat them.
Right. These were the baby piglets last year she had, and they're a year old this month.
Now, do you get all of your meat off of the farm? Like, do you have to supplement at all? Because I think of And I say that, I'll preface it by saying that because Kuni-Kunis are known for their low yielding, there's not a lot there. You've got 4
Right.
here. You're a family of 3.
Yeah.
Do the Kuni-Kunis give you enough meat to supplement you guys?
So we haven't had them long enough to actually had any meat, Kuni meat.
Oh, wait, what pigs did you have before?
We had feeder pigs.
We had just regular feeder
Oh,
pigs.
just like-
just fast growing pigs.
I see.
But last
Okay.
year we did not have to buy any meat. We raised 2 steer. How
Yeah.
many hogs?
We had 3 hogs.
Was it 6?
Not Kunis, but they were just regular pigs.
Felt like
Okay.
a lot of pigs
We had
on our
3
farm.
pigs and plus meat chickens, and then we had 2 steers that we raised. But we haven't had, we grow pretty much, I think we grow all of our 100% of our meat here.
What made you switch from the domestic breeds to Kuni-Kunis?
We will still raise the domestic breed. I think I just kind of like the Kunis because their temperament. They're like, you're
Yeah.
not afraid for your life. Fun there. Like, they're very gentle.
I could go in here and sit down
Like
and
our-
they won't eat me.
Yeah.
I mean, they're easygoing.
And if they break out, which is very rare, but if they do, they're easy to get back in, and you don't have to run for your life. you know?
Right.
Plus, they're grazers. They're like
Yeah.
They're
little,
gentle
They're
on
like
the
little
land.
mini cows.
You don't really have to worry about putting Kuni-Kunis in woods. Like you can,
Yeah.
but if you don't have any woods, these are good for pasture versus the domestic
Right,
pigs
I
really
mean-
should probably be in the woods.
I mean, they will just mow down a grass. Like, they're not.
yeah, I mean you can see the
destroyers,
line.
yeah.
They've they're like race tracking the fence here.
Yeah.
And you can like see where it's lower here than it is over here.
Yeah, plus they take minimal. You don't have to feed them a ton. They're gonna take 2 years to grow out, and I figured we'll give them a chance. We're not gonna really know till we're gonna start butchering these guys this coming up winter, and we're gonna see how much meat we get.
Yeah.
And they're a lard pig, so we might get more lard than meat, but
Which we use a lot
we're
of
just gonna-
lard.
We're just
yeah.
gonna test it out. See if we
See, and that's
how it is.
another conversation I keep having with the small farmers, the region farmers, the homesteaders, is what's yield really in, like, what's production value actually mean for you, like you personally? On a commercial pig farm, yeah, you need production because that's how you're going to get paid.
Right.
But with you, you're like, well, 4 of these pigs don't really have, because they don't eat as much, they eat your grass down.
Yep.
And then they're gonna feed you. So what's it really worth? I mean, I don't know, I guess I have that question. So I was raised conventional ag and everything's always about production.
Yeah.
But I question who's that production really for? Like
Yeah, I
what,
mean-
what are we really doing with those production values?
I think if we're actually selling the pork at farmers markets or something like that, then yeah, I mean, probably Kunis are not the ones you want to raise. You
Right.
just want a fast-growing animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, we're a small family, and they're easygoing and they're fun and they're cute. I mean, they're too cute.
They are very
You
cute.
probably don't want a cute pig if you're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
They are very cute. Well, that's awesome. Like you didn't notice how much up we went
Yeah.
from here, but now we're like, oh no, we're going.
Yeah, and this used to. I mean, it looked a lot different when we first moved.
Because it was
just-
very overgrown,
Yeah,
right?
just overgrown, but also like compacted because there was horses here and just random trees. We couldn't even go in our woods. I had to bring in like a forestry mulcher to come in and just make pathways in the woods. So
I
we
had
could go there.
never seen I'm gonna call it a tree eater because that's
Yeah.
like I'm like that's like a little tree eater. I had never seen anything like that until we were watching your videos on it, and then I saw them everywhere.
Really?
I was like, man, everybody's got these things.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. What they do in man, what that machine did in a day,
Yeah.
I would still be doing that stuff 2 years later. It was super helpful. Like even random trees in the pasture area, they took out. So it did not look like this. I mean, even the grass, there was no grass growing here
Yeah.
when we first moved 2 years ago.
And it's very green.
But you could see the quality of the grass is much more lush and
Yeah.
thick up there versus up here. But this is the area we want to concentrate on. But the whole property kind of looked
Like this.
like this.
Yeah.
If you notice, down closer to the house, we ran a lot of our chickens there the first 2 years because we didn't have water up here.
Right.
So now, this year, I'm going to start utilizing the upper part here because we do have this.
Yeah, this giant
Water
tank.
tank.
What a great spot for it too. And then everything's gravity fed,
Yes.
so it just goes right down.
Right. So we haven't actually used this yet. I had just finished it in the fall, beginning of winter time. So we haven't actually used it yet. But in a good 2 days, this thing filled up. It's
Wow.
like 1,000 gallons.
Wow.
I had to build this structure to save
Which
the
is
rain.
a fairly simple structure. Like it's not, it's just a roof, right? Like
Yeah, it's just a simple like garage shelter,
Lean-to.
lean-to shed.
Yeah.
Right now it's kind of our picnic area,
I love it.
but it could be for animals too. And then we just brought this up here, and this has been full for pretty much all winter. I think
Oh, wow.
a lot of people are worried that, isn't it gonna freeze? Where we're at, it's not gonna freeze. I mean, it would take a lot for this thing
Oh,
to freeze.
wow. I mean, that's a lot of water.
So my intention is, hooking up a hose to it and gravity feed it down
Yeah.
for our animals, or I could go this way with it to the woods.
So you own the woods too,
Yes.
not just the tree, not just the fence line,
Right.
but into the woods.
So the fence line here, this is something I'm currently doing, is redoing the fence line because it was for horses, and I'm trying to redo it just for smaller animals.
Yeah.
So I'm just utilizing what was already here. Like most of all these wood posts were already here. Like half of the fence was here, so I'm just trying to reuse it and fix it.
So it's just cool that if you can, and you can have that flexibility to be able to
Yeah.
to do it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think like homesteading in general, I think it's just all, I don't know, it's all like a big art school project.
That's a good
Like-
point. Here, let's walk over there. Can we walk the fence line?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a really good point because you started this in 2016 and you said it was a different world back then.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the differences in people wanting to homestead then versus now? And I don't just mean like COVID, but just in the differences of the people that have come in, the people that have gone out. What do you think about that as far as like the art school project?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you think people are more into it now? Like,
You think
like,
that?
or I mean, people are more serious about it?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I always thought about it just like,
Here, I'm gonna
like I'm not sure,
Oh, yeah.
because we didn't not sure if we liked doing this stuff, and it was like, we're just gonna go see and kind of treat it as like an art school project where we're just gonna try things and like build weird movable chicken coops.
Fun chicken tractors.
and that's what it's all about, and just having fun with it and just seeing if we like doing certain things. But then I also think I could see where maybe people got really more into it, and that's fine too. I mean, people have their different whys.
Right.
I think for us, it's just, I don't know, I have to almost treat it like that, like it's an art school project, because and not take it too seriously, because then I feel like I might get burnt out by it,
Yeah.
and I have to like keep it fun,
Yeah.
you know.
How do you balance that? I mean, so you talked about how like hope kind of brought you here. You obviously are established on social media. So how do you balance like trying to make sure that you don't have to have an off-farm job, but also keeping it fun?
Again, I asked my wife if we can do this.
Okay,
she
Lorraine,
keeps me
maybe
grounded.
maybe
You gotta have a balance.
Yeah, you
like
gotta have a
I think we're a good balance.
Yeah.
You know, she's like the list maker. I'm the just like, let's just go out there and do it, and not just see what happens.
So Lorraine, what do you think then? How do you keep the balance of keeping it fun and enjoyable and not like a chore, right? Like something that's getting boring or hard to do, but also making sure that you can afford to continue to do it.
Well, I think it's always fun being out here. I mean, with the animals in nature, I mean, we make it fun because this is our life and we love this and it's good. We know that we believe 100% that this is good for our bodies by being out here and being with the animals, being connected, stewarding them, letting the land heal us and that kind of thing. So it is fun because you're always learning.
Right.
We homeschool our 12-year-old daughter. So we're always learning, all of us, we're always learning together more about everything, herbs, animals. So it's fun. But there is a balance. How do we keep the balance? Because it is hard work. I would say taking breaks when needed. Yeah, it's taking.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I think that's hard for you to do. Taking breaks and going and having fun, like
going to the beach for a weekend.
going to the beach or going to the lake to go kayak or something like that. So just taking breaks.
So how do you know when it's time to take a break? Is it just like I'm getting tired, it's time to pull back a second, let's go for the weekend? Or
It's kind of hard because we both function very differently. Jason, I can't answer that for Jason. I'm not sure when you take your breaks, but like I'm very routine. I will be like, I don't want to talk about the farm after 10 o'clock at night or X amount, especially after
Don't
10
come
o'clock.
in here at midnight
Yeah.
waking me up, asking me if we should get more chickens.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way, and that's the rule. That is the rule because I have boundaries.
I love that you have to have that rule.
We have to have boundaries, and that is my break sometimes. Like, okay, after 5 or after dinner and after we've done all the animal chores, I don't really want to go back out there. I mean, unless there's like, go look at the moon or go take a walk or something like that.
Right.
But I don't want to spend all of my days and all of my nights doing just this. So I have, for me, like a routine of like, okay, this is my routine. I respect that routine. Certain, like in the summertime, it looks different. Like in the middle of the day when it's hot, I will go inside and read a book or do school or do something, different with Penelope. So it just looks differently season by season, but routines and setting aside different times of the day. It doesn't have to be like certain times of the year where I take a break. It could be just different times of the day where I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And I
It's midnight, I'm sleeping.
I'm sleeping. Yeah.
So how do you know then, Jason?
I don't know. Like I think having a YouTube channel doesn't help things
Yeah.
because you always kind of feel like you have to pump out the content.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard about it. And that's always on my mind, really. It's like, what's the next video, And then I edit too, so it's like, I need to do that. I'm doing both. But I guess for me, it's just, I can't take a break.
I don't take breaks. That's the
I
answer.
honestly don't take a
you,
break.
You've said it one time before, I'm not sure. I think it was like on your podcast or something. You said when you turn off the camera and you go clean your barn, and that re-inspires you to like, this is a new project I can start.
Yeah,
or
I guess
this
so.
is something, a new way.
Organized.
Yeah.
I like to organize. When I'm overwhelmed
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know where to start or where to begin, and like I have too much stuff going on and I need to complete all this and I need to edit and I need to do this, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stop and not have a camera in my hand and go to the barn and organize it, and whatever that looks like hang stuff on the wall, sweep, like just organize something, and then that usually kind of recharges me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it like clears my mind, and even if I could have like a good clean barn or a workshop area, whatever it is, and then I'm like, okay, I feel better now, or maybe listen to some music or something, and then that's my break.
Yeah.
Like that could be 5 hours,
Right.
or it could be a full day, or it could be maybe a Saturday and a Sunday, but that's my break,
Yeah.
and that's all I get.
And we
That's all I
we
get.
do go on like vacations, and
Yeah,
for a
we
couple
do.
days in the year.
We just kind of
so-
started doing that last year.
Yeah, so I think that's helpful. And
Yeah.
you don't film during that, and I think that's helpful.
Yeah, that is helpful.
Take time for yourself. It's
Yeah.
hard when you're giving pieces of yourself to other people. Like when you're bringing them along with your chores, it definitely, because when we had our YouTube channel while we farmed, and it started becoming that I was like, I just want to go feed the freaking cows.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to tell
Yeah.
somebody that I'm feeding the cows. I don't want to set the camera up
Or
to
hold
feed the cows.
camera, yeah.
Today, I just want to go feed the cows, but I felt like I wasn't allowed to do that because then I didn't have the content that
Yeah.
was, propelling our farm
So-
forward. So it's a balance, definitely, and
Right.
can make things difficult.
And I think for me, we just left careers and left my job, and I always felt like I never deserved a time off. Like I feel like I didn't deserve it because I didn't do enough to earn it.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to working for somebody else, and I got paid every Friday. So all of a sudden you move out here and it's like, man, I didn't get paid this month, or I didn't get paid this Friday. Like,
Yeah.
it's up to me, to get it done. And so for a good, I'm starting not to feel like that anymore. But I would say for a good 6-7 years since living out here, I really felt like that really, really bad, and I felt like I don't deserve a day off. I don't deserve that. Like I need to keep working because I made the choice to leave my career to come out here and bring our family out. I mean, it was both of our choices, but
Right.
like I chose to leave and do this. So it's up to me. I need to do it. I need to figure it out, and that's why I don't deserve any day off. But that's hard. It's hard for me to get through that. But I think slowly I am.
The guilt that you're saying, like that I didn't deserve to have a day off, is that where the living ugly kind of came from, where you're like, no, I know that this is my goal, so I'm going to live in a trailer that I thought was ugly, or do house projects at a certain time?
Right.
Is that kind of, did that flow together?
So I
No?
think there is some beauty to living in ugly, and it teaches you. It teaches you to be humble. It teaches you to appreciate the very few things that you do have, and that's what I meant by when we did live in that small mobile home and it was ugly. You really had to seek out the beauty. You had to find the beauty in the day, in the ugly, and it forces you to think like that. And I'm so appreciative for that time period. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't feel like that's why we work so hard, is so we can have nicer things. I don't think that at all. But I do think that we work hard so we can be more efficient and we can have more food.
Yeah,
Maybe not nicer things, though. It's
So
not
it's
about
more
material.
geared towards your health versus material things.
Yeah, and being more efficient in stewarding the land and growing food and having abundance, so maybe we can provide meat for something else. Maybe we could sell it, or maybe we could provide for another family, or that kind of thing. But it's really not to have beautiful things or anything like that.
Well, yeah. Plus, if you buy an ugly property, I mean, it's more affordable. That's what we could afford.
Yeah.
And so, but you could, with a little bit of sweat, you could make it into something great.
Yeah.
And something that you've always wanted and envisioned. And I think there's more satisfaction in that than buying something that's already perfect and pristine.
Yeah, but we didn't know that living in California. Like, I feel like our mindset was so different. Like, when you want a beautiful house, you just go and buy it.
Yeah.
But doing that out here, buying a property, an ugly property, and fixing up, and there is gratification of like, wow, we worked really hard. And
it was affordable. We could afford it, and we made it work. And it made it happen. And so it's just a lot nicer.
You said you didn't know earlier, but you may or may not be building this property up and maybe want something even larger, or you may just stay here and that be it, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, currently, like, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're putting a lot of work into it right now.
The project's not finished.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And, I mean, we've only been here 2 years, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, yes, this is our forever home. It's hard to say that because it's so weird to say that, but I don't know.
In California, did people, and I was raised in the middle of a cornfield, and I didn't get out of that cornfield until December when we started on this journey, okay?
Wow.
Nice.
So forgive my ignorance, but in California, or at least maybe I shouldn't specify it to California, but where you guys lived before, did people stay in one place? Like, did they buy a home and stay there their whole lives?
It's hard to speak for everybody, but I think a lot of the people that we knew and grew up with, and family members that we know and grew up with, I think that they did that.
Maybe not the same home, but the same area.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, neighborhood. It's like suburb.
I mean,
suburbia,
they'll go
whatever.
travel on vacation maybe, but it was very radical for us to do what we did and leave.
Yeah,
our
our
home.
family, grandma lived on the next street over, mom lived on the next street over, sister, like everyone just kind of lived within 30 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of stay in the area.
Right.
We met in high school and then just stayed kind of around there.
Yeah.
That's typical.
Yeah.
Maybe not the same house, but definitely the same area.
I just find it interesting because that's also how I grew up. Everybody lived at least within an hour of each other, except for a few family members. And I find that, like, maybe it's a comfortability that we are supposed to go find our forever property right now. But talking with you, it just is kind of, I don't have a light bulb going off, but it's like, a little dim. And we don't have to go find our forever property once we're done with this traveling. I don't know when we'll be done, but at some point we will be done. And when that happens, Paul and I say, oh, well, we'll go homestead again. But do we have to go buy the 40 acres, the 50 acres right away? Or can we build up to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And is it okay that we might be 50 years old and kind of starting over again? Is that okay? Do you guys think that's okay?
I know you don't want to start over again at
I was like, man, I can't.
at 80 years old. We talk
80 years
about
old,
that.
building a chicken coop.
Because
I
he's
don't know about that.
I can't be doing this hard, heavy work when I'm like in 20 more years. I just can't do it. But we could move, and hopefully, if with the sale of this property, move into something that maybe already has fencing, or something that has.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Maybe
I think
make a little profit from, you know, because we made some profit from the 1.5 acres. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, it was nothing, and then we brought it to something, and then like, you know, you kind of move up. That's how, you know,
Yeah.
that's how you work. But I do think about that. Like, at a certain point, I think you probably have to say, okay, this is it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be like morbid or something, but
Right.
like, this is where I'm dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You will bury me on this hill, and here I am.
I mean, like, I don't want to go, you know,
Well, it's-
renovate another house.
it's either that or scale back down, because you can't
Yeah.
physically
Do stuff eventually.
move
Right.
chicken try or hoist up a cow after you butchered him.
Right.
But, you know, but then we have the conversation of, well, then our daughter's going to get married and her husband's going to come and help us on our farm.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and
He doesn't know it yet, but he is.
yeah, I mean, you know, and our daughter's going to live here or whatever if she wants to.
Or not. I mean,
not.
who knows? Maybe she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
like,
But we do talk about that, like,
yeah. It's hard to
what's next, we don't know.
It's hard to foresee that future
Yeah.
Right.
of what it's going to look like.
I think for me, I just love the possibilities of it. I mean, when we sold the farm and did this, people were like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? I'm like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. You know, like you can always pivot. And then I started having conversations with my friends like that, where they're like, well, I'm not happy in my job. Okay, change.
Yeah.
Just because you have a degree in something doesn't mean that that's what you have to do for the
Oh,
rest
right.
of your
We're-
life.
We're
You know?
living proof of that.
And I think that that's very inspirational, and I think a lot more people need to hear that, because we get stuck in this rut of this is what I chose, I have to do it for 40 years, and then I can retire to finally do what I want.
Yeah, you don't have to.
And you don't have to.
stay in the same place forever.
Yeah, many people say, oh, why are you moving out there? You know, why are you quitting your job now? Like, you should just wait till you're retired. And many people told me that.
Which is a lot of people say that. Oh, I'll do that when I'm retired.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, man, a lot could happen from now to retirement. What if I
Yeah.
get sick, or, you know, what if I can't? I'm unable to do something like this.
Yeah,
or
we're
what
just
if we're just,
physically unable.
you know, for us, the momentum was there when we left. You know, like, we had all these green lights of like, oh, you need to go. And there's never a perfect time to do something like this. But the momentum was there, and we just kept going and kept moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely don't regret it. I mean, look at the last 8 years that we've been here. It's just been a beautiful journey.
And you're still on it.
We're
Like,
still on
you're
it.
still
Every day.
Because that's the beauty of life, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
we're still living.
Yeah.
And the same thing with retirement. Like, we heard that, especially at the firehouse. Like, I'll do it to when I retire. And Paul's like, I'm a paramedic. I see people die every day.
Yeah.
We might not make it.
Yeah.
Like, just do what
Do
makes
it
you
now.
happy. And
Yeah.
I love that from you guys. So thank you so much for having me
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
and
Thanks for coming out.
letting us explore. This has been absolutely amazing. Yeah, just showing me around.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you
was
for
fun.
coming
I
out.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank
Alrighty.
you.
It was good to meet you.
You too. So if you're like me, you probably watch all the videos on homesteading and farmsteading and things on YouTube. My family, all four of us, have been watching Jason and Lorraine for years, like literally years. That's how we'd drink our coffee in the morning. That's how we get Sydney to go to take a nap. She watches those pig videos. Being able to come out here and talk with them has just been so cool and so inspiring too. I mean, what they're doing and just how humble they feel about what they're doing and where they're at. I know we will definitely find a homestead for ourselves one day. I don't know where that is, but I will be taking a lot of the things with me that we talked about today. And I hope you do too. If you want some more content, more things, we are building our membership page. We're gonna continue to do extra things, keep doing live streams on the first Mondays of the month. So just come along with us, and we are just so glad to have you here with us. Thank you for joining me today.